We putting work, turning nothing into something. They feelings hurt, we turning nothing into something. Give a fuck if they don't like me, cause all this bread I count excites me. Turning nothing into something, nothing into something, turning nothing into something.
What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, everybody? And not quite Blunt Thoughts Live, as we're still not quite up to doing the live show right now, but we still wanted to share some thoughts. You know how we are. We can't keep quiet. There's always stuff running through our mind. And it's been a week since we've last spoken. So I just wanted to, react to a few things that we've seen happen for the last week or so. One of the first things, and we're gonna run through this pretty quick. We're not gonna do this too long. It's a recording. There's gonna be not much interaction, although I'll probably be on live as it premieres, and maybe I can answer some questions there if you guys watch as I'm there, as it premieres live. But the first thing that pops up to mind that I'm thinking about right away is, and it really shouldn't be a big deal, but it's and as I have the topics here, but it's Starling Marte. And we've heard this week from Carlos Mendoza. I think it was on Wednesday, where we weren't going to see Starling Marte in games just yet. He actually hasn't even really been doing much because he has still hasn't been able to get through his running progression because he's still having issues with the knee. So this has turned into a chronic knee issue that Starling Marte has, and it has me thinking, a little irrational, a little what do you call it? Drastic, I guess, or whatever, maybe too fast. But should the Mets should maybe start considering maybe a buyout with Starling Marte? Starling Marte maybe start considering retiring, and he's not going to retire. He's still going to want to play. He's still talking about wanting to play center field. He still jokes about stealing bases and all that good stuff. But maybe for the Mets, is the best thing to do to consider a buyout with Starling Marte? I'm not sure. Like I said, maybe that's jumping the gun too quick. You want to give the guy time, but he's missed so much time the last couple of years. And, the knee, I can't remember if the knee had anything to do with 2023, him missing time, but we know it did last year, right? I know in 23 we had the hernia issue and this and that, whatever. But for him to go through a whole entire off season and still be dealing with that problem and with all the treatment and everything that they've done, and for him still to be dealing with the knee, I don't know. And we're talking about this guy maybe being a right-handed part of a platoon at DH. Now, we may have to start looking somewhere else for that. Maybe we don't have a right-handed option as a DH. Maybe you do that with the guys already on the roster, where you play a Luis Torrens at catcher and you DH Alvarez. I don't even know who else you could put in there as a right-handed DH. I was gonna say maybe you play Pete at DH, but who do you put at first? Oh, I know who. Maybe on a day like that, you could go ahead and move Mark Vientos to first base, and you play a Brett Baty at third base. And we'll get into that in a second. As you see, I have Brett Baty as one of the options there too. But just I don't want to say alarm, but a little eye opening to see that Starling Marte is still dealing with this knee issue. And I believe that a healthy Starling Marte could be very productive for this team. But the question is, are we going to have a healthy Starling Marte? Or we're going to be dealing with the same thing that we've been dealing for the last couple of years that I know a lot of fans are tired of. But when he gets on the field, the guy can help us. So I'm pretty sure the Mets are still going to give him time. And again, this is just me just being irrational, overreacting, and saying, should the Mets consider a buyout for Starling Marte? The other thing is that people kind of like overreacted and made assumptions. And like I guess, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to run through these topics pretty damn quick. But it's Kodai Senga. And we're finally going to see Kodai Senga in the game tomorrow, mainly because Kodai Senga wants to pitch in the game. The Mets don't want to pitch him in the game. They want to take it easy. They want to ease him into things. And I talked about in our last live where I said Kodai Senga learned to trust the Mets. We know that Jeremy Hefner went out there, spent some time with him in Japan this past offseason and all that good stuff. He talked about how now he understands a little bit more, and there was a little bit more communication now. He wishes there was more communication and more him understanding last season, and maybe could have helped him overcome the injuries that he had a little bit sooner, and maybe he could have contributed a little bit more. but the Mets want to take it slow. They prefer for him to pitch in a controlled environment, but he's insisting on pitching in the game, which is a good thing because that means he feels good too. We know he's one of these guys, almost like a Jacob Degrom, where everything needs to be perfect. They're about routine. They're about their mechanics. If they feel off a little bit, they don't want to throw. So the fact that he feels healthy, he talked about to us about him feeling healthy, and that he now wants to pitch in the game against different competition than a controlled environment against teammates. I think that's a good sign. Now, when people got a little bit alarmed is because Carlos Mendoza said that it would only be for one inning and then he will continue his work in the backfields. How much will that work be? They don't talk about innings now; they talk about ups. So he's gonna pitch one up, or at least they're saying one inning officially in the spring training game tomorrow, and then he'll go to the backfield and finish out his work. So I think that's a good thing. But I thought it was interesting also that he pretty much pushed um, to be out there in the game, which is good. Again, that means that he feels good. That he means that he feels good and wants to be out there. So I think that's a good thing. I really do. And let's listen to Mendy talk about that real quick. Let me see, make sure that I got the right one. Yeah, let me see and make sure we got the right one. Yes, we do. Yes, we. Let's see. Let's bring this up here. Boom. Bear with me.
The last
Here we go.
big name really is Senga.
Right.
Is he getting in on his next turn or?
Yeah, so I was talking to Hef. Uh, he's gonna pitch in games. He's gonna pitch. So you probably see him for one inning, and then we'll send him back for a live EP. He's gonna get three ups.
Okay.
But we wanted him more on a controlled environment. But he wants to be in the game, so
Yes.
that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
So we kind of settle on like, you know what, we'll give you an inning in the main field, but then you're gonna go back. So that's probably what we'll do here.
So the last
Okay, so there it
big
is.
name really is.
So he basically Mendy told us he's gonna get three ups, so three innings. You know what I'm saying? But he wanted to pitch in the live game, and they said so. We settled on one inning in the game, and then he's gonna go, I guess, do two ups in the backfield in a more of a controlled environment, and that's a great thing. Like Mendy said himself, that's a good thing. Like I said, that means that he feels good. So we're not gonna be upset about that. So hopefully he gets through fine. We've seen him before in a very short um stint last season when he pitched those five electric innings against the Braves, and then we know what happened. And then in the playoffs, he had one good outing or decent outing, and then a not so good outing. So we're gonna cross our fingers. We're gonna hope that he gets through this healthy. But again, good to see that he wants to pitch, and we'll be excited to see him go out there tomorrow and get that one up or one inning for us old school people. The other thing that's been standing out, ladies and gentlemen, is Brett Baty. And Brett Baty has been killing the ball. And we know that Brett Baty, in the minors, hits all the time pretty much, but has come up to the majors and has struggled. And even when he went down last year after being up here, I think it took him a little bit of time, but obviously that's probably disappointing from being set down. But then he went back to the same thing we were seeing the highlights all the time. I remember people going crazy about it, and I'm like, whatever, whatever. We've seen this already before. He wasn't getting it done in the majors. Give me my guy Mark Vientos, and we know what happened when Mark Vientos took the third base job and hasn't let it go since. But Brett Baty is still, a highly touted prospect or whatever, or still has a chance to make something in his career. In my opinion, Brett Baty has nothing else to show in the minors, which is why recently I've been talking about could Brett Baty possibly be that last guy on the bench, that utility guy. They talked to us about having him play everywhere, even maybe giving him some reps at shortstop. Not that you're gonna play him there, maybe not even in a spring training game, but in an emergency, would it be the end of the world? No, right? In an emergency to close out a game, I guess maybe a blowout, because that's the only time that you're gonna see and need anybody to play shortstop. Francisco Lindor doesn't take any time off. Francisco Lindor doesn't take any time off, so I don't know what people worry about. Well, we need a backup shortstop. We don't need a backup shortstop. We need guys that can come off the bench and hit. Can Brett Baty do that? I'm not sure. Do we have anybody else that can really do that? Madrigal is not out. We've talked about that. This kid is killing the ball. And besides that, like I said, no matter what, I still have this thing up here. Like I said before in one of my videos, if Brett Baty does well, both in spring training and then into the season, if he makes the roster, gets a couple of good pinch hits, gets a start once a week maybe, and does well, that could raise his trade value if that's eventually his destiny. But so far in Brett Baty spring training, it's 7 for 16, ladies and gentlemen, with 2 home run, 3 RBI, with a 438 average, 471 on base percentage, with a 1.346 OPS. Forget what his slugging was. I guess I could look for it real quick. I thought I put it up here, but I guess I didn't. Let's see as we do this, not live, but live for me here. 471 on base. But what they don't have here is his slugging. I guess we could do the math and figure it out, but we're not gonna do all that. But it's obviously pretty damn good when you have a 1.346 OPS, right? And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think maybe he could be that guy. And who knows? I know we have Jesse Winker penciled in as a lefty DH to go along with Marte if he's actually able to get on the field and make it to opening day. Well, what if Brett Baty takes some of those at bats away from Jesse Winker, and Jesse Winker becomes that pinch hitter off the bench? We know he can do that. We saw him do it last year. Right? You don't want to ask a young guy. You don't want to make a young guy utility guy right away. You don't want to ask a young guy to really be that pinch hitter off the bench because they barely even know how to play the game. You know what I'm saying? Relatively speaking, veterans have a hard time coming off the bench and pinch hitting. So maybe you have Jesse Winker do that, and Brett Baty's that lefty DH, or just a DH period. We'll see. But I think Brett Baty has a legitimate shot to make this team. As did I show it yet? I don't think I showed it, right? As we'll listen to my guy Carlos Mendoza also talk about Brett Baty. Did I show it? I apologize if I did, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize if I did. But let's watch this again if we did. No, I don't think we have watched this. Here we go. He is Carlos Mendoza talking about Brett Baty.
When you watch Beatty in these games, I know the big thing with him is just conviction, but it's a different conviction in a spring training game versus a regular season game. Or can you see the decision making and letting
Yes,
it rip mentality?
yes, it's different. But when it comes down, when you're watching a hitter in the batter's box, how is he taking pitches? Is he right on pitches? Is he missing those? And right now, he's putting the barrel on a lot of them. And not only he's putting barrels, he's just using the whole field. So whether it's taking his single with 2 strikes, when he's ahead in counts, is he driving the baseball? And he's doing a lot of good things right now. So yes, there's different because you know the way they pitch to you in spring training is completely different than the way they go into their scouting reports. Now we don't have much of that, but you still got to hit it. You still got to get a good pitch, and you still got to have to put a good swing on it. And it's good to see Brett getting good results early in camp.
And there it is. And listen, we talk about it all the time. Spring training. What do you make of spring training? Does it really matter? And I always say it's different for everybody, right? For a guy like Brett Baty, who is trying to make a team, who is trying to show that he belongs, who is trying to show that he is that player that everybody thought that he could be. Spring training matters. So those results matter. Yeah, you want to say, okay, well, the pitcher maybe is working on this, the pitcher's working on that. Well, like Mendoza said, you still have to hit. And it's still the quality of at bats, the quality of the contact. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think Brett Baty has a legitimate shot to make this team. The other thing that stood out, ladies and gentlemen, is our guy Jose Siri. Jose Siri, who is murdering balls out of the ballpark, who has made a couple of highlight reel plays But another thing that stands out is Jose City, after today's action, is hitting 300, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe that? Jose Siri, Mr. Mendoza line, is hitting 300 in spring training. But here's the caveat, ladies and gentlemen. That 300 comes from a 3 for 10 with 3 home runs. His 3 hits in spring training are 3 home runs, 3 bombs. And the good thing is, like I told someone earlier, is at least he's hitting home runs with guys on base, which I think is important. Quite often we see guys on the Mets hit solo home runs. At least he's hitting them with men on base. As he had 2 3-run homers and a solo home run. So he's definitely showing the power. But he's going to get anything else besides home runs? We'll see. We'll see. But I thought that's something that stood out. Now, the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to wind this up, hey, listen, this might be a record. Excuse me, we might be able to do it in about 20, 25 minutes, which would definitely be a record for us. The other thing that stood out, ladies and gentlemen, is Brandon Sproat and Blade Tidwell. First, Brandon Sproat, who made his debut and was perfect, as I need to go back to school, and I don't know if it's school or the damn glasses, as I misspelled the kid's name, and I apologize. I apologize for that, Brandon. But Brandon Sproat, who was perfect in his debut, obviously, only for 2 innings, right? But this is what we do. We overreact. Bro thoughts we overreact every now and then. But he had 2 perfect innings. And we'll see. I'm pretty sure, hopefully, he'll get another start. I mean, listen, you got to fill up innings now in spring. And you're missing a couple of guys. First, Mendoza was talking about figuring out how to get everybody in. Well, now you're missing guys, so you're going to have to fill up innings. So hopefully we'll see Brandon Sproat get another start out there, one that we could watch, but against some major leaguers. But to go out there, 2 perfect innings on your debut on a major league level, even if it's spring training, pretty impressive. And he's someone that a lot of us in the talk is throughout baseball and from the Mets and critics and everybody that he could possibly come up this year and be a factor. So it's good to see that. Good to see stuff like that. The kid seems to have a good head on the shoulder, talks good, recognizes he struggled a little bit last year, recognizes the reasons why he struggled a little bit last year when he was called up to AAA. So we'll see how that goes forward. The other guy is Blade Tidwell, who was immaculate, who has gone, I believe, is 5 innings. He's actually had 2 outings already. Let me see here. Let's double check that. Yeah, he's had 2 outings, 4 innings, 2 innings apiece. The first one, not so good, right? Got hit around a little bit. What was it? 4 hits, 3 runs, home run, walk. I didn't watch it, so I don't know how the contact was. But obviously, you gave up a home run and a walk. That's not good in 2 innings. But then he goes out here and has an immaculate inning. But in 2 innings, 5 strikeouts. I believe the first out was a ground ball. I forget. But I know he had 2 strikeouts in his first inning, and then 3 strikeouts in the second inning for the immaculate inning. And he's another guy that we could possibly see somewhere along the line this season. Now, could one of these 2 guys break camp? Who knows? You never know. Spring training is different for everybody. These guys are trying to impress. Maybe they impress enough that they give the front office no choice and the coaching staff no choice but to put them on the roster. But that would take somebody faltering. Could that be a Blackburn who didn't fare too well today? But he talked about working and struggling a little bit with his splitter, I think it was, or sinker. So we'll see how that all plays out. But it's good, man. When you hear about these young guys, this is when I get excited about the young guys. This is when I pay attention. When they're in the higher levels, when we start seeing them get spring training invites, and we know they're pretty close. I understand building a team, international free agents, the local domestic draft, all of that good stuff is important. I do. I really do, ladies and gentlemen. I get it. But I just can't lose my mind. I just can't lose my mind. And to close out, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a nice, banner for it and anything like that. I guess I could create one real quick on the fly here. But is, as you can see on the bottom there, co-captains or no captains is what I called it. Co-captains or no captains. Why do you say that, Hector? Well, even I commented recently because we saw John Franco talk about it, and it's been told to talk through the media and everything about making Francisco Lindor a captain. And every time I have this conversation, I always say, listen, I get it. But is it really necessary? We talk like it's something that has to happen. There are two teams in Major League Baseball with captains right now. Two. Aaron Judge with the Yankees, Salvador Perez with the Royals. No one else has captains. I don't even know if all teams have had captains throughout their history. But what I do know is this team has an established leadership, and that is Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. And then other guys who step in and do their thing in their own way, whether it be a Pete Alonso, whether it be a Sean Manaea, whether it was Jose Iglesias last year, even a guy like a Starling Marte, a Alvy, who provides the energy, even Goofy Pete. But as far as the leaders, the guys that are gonna really like call meetings, even though we know we Pete has called the meeting, but the guys are gonna say, "Hey, listen, we need to do this way." It's gonna be Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. And shout out to Anthony DeComo who wrote a story today. Let me look at what was his headline on the story. Let's see. Do I still have it up here? Because it's also what made me kind of like want to talk about it. Right? Was when he talked about Geez, I took it down. I think yeah. But he said something about Captain Not So Fast, right? Captain Not So Fast, something like that. And he also talked about how it could possibly be both of these guys. And then you add in the dynamic of a Jose Soto now, Juan Soto, who's here now. Jose Soto. Jesus. This is why I'm not doing lives, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, very little energy. I'll be my own critic. Very little energy here today. Not my best work. But we wanted to share some thoughts. And now I'm butchering names, especially Adelo Mio, personal Juan Soto. You gotta be kidding me. But he now factors into this captaincy and all of this stuff. And what does that do to the dynamic of the team if you name just a Francisco Lindor captain? Does that cause some resentment or whatever throughout the clubhouse? Does that make certain guys feel a certain way? If it's not a Brandon Nimmo personally, but other guys who look at him as a leader and say he should be a captain too, what about him? And this is not nothing against Francisco Lindor. He's a worthy guy of wearing the C on his chest. But in my opinion, it's not that easy. There's nuance to it. As Anthony DeComo said again, shout out to Anthony DeComo. And I wish I still had the article here because I would pull it up. There's nuance to it. So there's going to be a captain. It should be co-captains. Now, do you have three captains like hockey? That's a little much. So I think the best thing right now, and this is more of a fan media thing, but the best thing right now would probably be to leave it alone and leave it as status quo. And just don't name a captain. Unless you're going to just name Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. Because I don't think you can name Juan Soto a captain with him just getting here. I think that would be fugazi. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to keep this at 25 minutes. Again, just not up to a live yet. I think we will continue to do the shows. We will continue to do the lives. Possibly next week we'll start it up again. Possibly sometime this week, maybe next week, we'll start it up again. But for now, I just wanted to share some quick thoughts, give, our thoughts on the week, a few things that have stood out. I know there's a lot more that's happened, but just those things there. One thing that I forgot to mention, now we know why they made a trade for Jose Candelario. We were all like, what's this about? Is it a Marte trade coming up? Nah. Maybe it was just insurance in case Starling Marte has to start the season on the injured list. Besides that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we get a game tomorrow on TV, tomorrow Monday on TV, and then maybe I think Thursday this week we get a game on SNY or Pigs, one of those two, but through the Mets broadcasting. So enjoy that. Enjoy your week. Hope everyone's had a good weekend. Hope everyone's been safe, as we always say. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, LFGM, baby. It's your boy Heck signing out. Peace.
My clique full of animals and we made ourselves with minimal. Fuck you, no subliminals. Putting in this work, nigga. That's why they feelings hurt, nigga. Swear we need a hearse cause we rep our shites to the dirt, nigga. If I'm in the club, I'm